You're listening to the Beats and Bars podcast hosted by BATTL Beats. This podcast is out there to shine a light on the most slept on and underrated rappers and producers.
It's BATTL, baby!
Hey, what's up? It's BATTL Beats here with the Beats and Bars podcast. We are joined with a very special guest today. We have got YLM, your local musician. How's it going, bro?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's really buzzing to have you on. I know that we've only linked up recently in the past couple of weeks, but it's really cool seeing what you do in your channel and your sound designing and stuff like that. So it's great to have you on, man.
Thank you. It's nice to be asked, to be honest. It's good to fill your sort of time up with stuff like this, especially in bloody lockdown when there's not really anything happening apart from what's going on in your own four walls, really.
Yeah, I went into town today and I'm not kidding, because all the restaurants and pubs were allowed open. It was just messy and there was police everywhere. 13-year-old kid getting arrested was not a pretty sight. So that's York for you, because all the Geordies come down and all the people from Middlesbrough, and they just basically run raucous on a weekend. So throughout the week it's a lovely place, but in the weekend, nope, it's not a nice place.
My missus is a Geordie.
Oh, well, I love Geordies, no disrespect. It's just the ones that come down to York on a weekend are...
she's not one of them.
Yeah, they're something else. They are another kettle of fish. But do you want to just tell us what you do, what it is that you get up to with music and all that good stuff?
Well, obviously I'm involved in quite a few sort of different areas right now. I work with Curtis King, Ogosh Leotis, a guy called Nabian, a guy called Aaron Barber in Slap Experts, putting together obviously sample packs and things like that, and all sorts of sound design and that, and I also do that on my own as well. So I release my own individual packs, which I have done for about the past 4 years now. Been in music really for 19 overall, so I'm 28 now. So I'm obviously it's getting scary, getting closer and closer to 30. Obviously started when I was 9, and I really can't remember a time when I didn't do anything else really. Like, I really do struggle to, like, my fiance has got all these memories of when she was a kid of loving like Disney and all this sorts of stuff, and all these certain artists and things like that, and having a lot more of a broader scope of what she got up to as a kid. Whereas with me, I've always been quite one-dimensional with what I do. I just can't remember a time when I didn't do anything else.
Are you into footy and stuff like that as well, or was it just music? You was obsessed with music?
Not really, no. Not basketball was always my sport.
I used to play basketball in school. Loved it. Still love
typical,
it.
Like I don't fit the English stereotype when it comes to like sports and things like that. I always thought when I was younger that I probably should have been born in America, because I love all the American sports, but I'm not like an active follower of them. I just love the sport. I play it. I watch it every now and then. But no, music's always been my number one thing. I don't really have too many other hobbies, if that makes any sense.
So you said you was 9. What was that? Did you start learning guitar or something like that? Because I know you play guitar.
I actually started rapping when I was 9.
Right.
So, like, it was weird. I started rapping first. I started writing lyrics. Well, actually, no, for a while I didn't write lyrics. I was sort of, the way it happened is when I was 9 years old, this is what started off everything. I'd met my best mate, who is still my best mate to this day. And it was his idea. It was his idea that he wanted to start doing music, and he wanted to start rapping. So he had already. He asked me, did I want to do it with him? And obviously, I just naturally kind of followed along and just agreed.
Yeah.
Never written anything up until that point. But I think about 2 or 3 days later, after he mentioned that on like a school lunch break, I was round his house recording my first rap album with a PlayStation mic hanging from the bottom of his bed like that. And we're both crowding round the same mic with this little beat machine, just rapping over these beats, like beats that we didn't make, just ones that came presetted from this like karaoke box or whatever it was.
Yeah, nice.
And we recorded an entire album, and that was the start.
Cool. Hey, that is not what I expected at all, man. Does your mate rap now, or is he?
No. He's a producer as well. His name's you can find him on Instagram. Under Hiles Made It. He's a producer now. He produces for a lot of local people around my area, and got a few placements as well. So
nice.
We're still very tight knit. We're still heavily involved in what both each other do. I've just gone a bit of a different direction than to what he has. So but the two sort of do complement each other. Me with my sound design, and him with his trying to get placements. Really, so we're still quite a tight knit team.
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. So obviously you started rapping at 9. That's crazy. And then, so what was your sort of growing up teenage music journey then? Obviously, because you didn't just stay rapping, because you're obviously not rapping now. So when did you start getting into other areas of music and stuff like that?
Into production.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after that, to be honest. We got involved in so many different areas. Like we were a picturesque of independence. Like from like 10 years old, we were started making beats at 10, but never really took it too sort of seriously. So we was like on and off and that. We'd get beats from SoundClick and that, and so that kind of started that journey into it. And then when I was about 9.5, so the rapping thing started when I was dead on 9, and about 6 months in, my dad took me to his best friend's house called Little John, because he's a little bloke sort of. And he was a guitarist. He had like 30 years experience. He toured with up and down the UK and that, and it was the first time I ever sort of came across, like I was just stunned by it. And within about an hour, he taught me my first C chord, and then about an hour after that, I think I learned about 3 chords that night. I think it was C, G, and D. I think I actually ended up playing something like Twist and Shout or something like that. So in about 2 hours, I knew a song, and
nice.
I just got obsessed with it. I just got absolutely obsessed with it, and I was already quite into the rap music. So but that opened up opened me up to classic rock, to blues, and then from then, when I started taking playing guitar more seriously, I came across Eric Clapton, and obviously he's still my number one to this day. I'm still obsessed with him. I've got God knows how many vinyls. I've got I've even got "You Look Wonderful Tonight" tattooed across my arm.
Nice.
So it's just like that. That's like a homage to that. I say that's the first song that ever made me want to actually play. So that's why it's on there, sort of thing. So and it just kind of went from there. I started eventually, by the time when I was about 10, started songwriting, and I was more of a guitarist / rapper at that time. But the production didn't really come around until I was about 15, when I really started to take some interest in it. But I was still at the time leaning a little bit more towards being in bands. So I played that scene for quite a while, and I had a very keen interest in making beats, like on the side while I was playing in bands, going like touring, going to all sorts of different places for gigs and that. And it wasn't till eventually I was in bands for about 2 years straight. And I was still making beats on the side, still learning all about it, still loving it, but I was still more committed to the band side of things. It's just band politics got in the way. And eventually, in the end, at the end of it, I was feeling more and more love for hip hop. Like, I was really feeling like that was where I was meant to be, sort of thing. And eventually, band politics just got in the way. I got sick of sort of relying on other people to make music. I just wanted to do it, and I didn't want to have to depend on anyone to make music. In my personal experiences, I didn't really have much of the brotherhood that you sort of get when you're in a band. It's just it didn't go that way for me. So I had more of that with my best friend, who was making beats. So he was making beats before I was. And I was still a little bit into all that band stuff. And then he eventually turned around and said, mate, why don't you just go full time with making beats? And naturally, when that sort of happened, I've got this tendency to be, if I become interested in something, I become absolutely obsessed with it. And I've got this in my head that if I start something, I want to know everything. I want to know everything about what that thing is. So whether that be sound design, making beats, I want to know everything about compression, EQ. I'm the typical book nerd when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
I just get so engrossed in all of it, and it's almost like I feel like I have to be. If I'm not the top in that, if I don't feel like I'm extremely advanced in what I'm doing, I don't see it as worth as being worthy of doing. So I just love to study about all of it, and eventually I stumbled across things like building reactor ensembles and things like that, and I started to get involved in synthesis and Foley sounds, which are obviously what I do more of now. And it all just years and years later, it just carried on, and I just eventually got involved in more and more projects with different people. Started my own thing in 2016. Before then, I was obviously making beats, working with different people. But I wanted something where I wanted to establish a brand that was more about me. I felt like probably at that age, I was probably not at that time willing to play the typical producer's role of being in the background. I wanted something that was representative of me out there, whether that be being an artist or even being an independent producer. But I wanted to take it a different direction. So I'd always done the sound design, So eventually, obviously, I started putting out packs on my own, started a blog. And eventually that worked up to getting around 25,000 visitors a month. And that's partly due to my other side interest, which is obviously SEO and marketing and things like that. Obviously, I do that professionally. I've worked for some of the well-known marketing agencies in the UK who've won some pretty prestigious awards. And so the kind of I kind of got into that side, web design, and that when I was about 15, and it was always a little side thing that I'd study, and I'd be doing beats as well. So I had these two main things. It was music, and it was geeky web design, Photoshop, like that. And till I eventually just landed on studying SEO, and obviously it's a really technical subject. And from that age, I eventually started to land clients here and there, and I was doing the SEO consultant thing on the side and earning bits of money from it. And when eventually uni stopped, and when I was about 19, I think, no, I was 22 when I finished uni. It was like I came hit a bit of a crossroads. I was like, okay, well, what do I do? And luckily for me, I already had some quite good skills in that. I'd gotten some really quality results for some of the businesses that I was working with, and I just naturally went into that, and obviously that's been my career ever since, which I now still do side by side with music. But it's almost an added advantage of the marketing that you need to know. Obviously, I already kind of have it because I do it in my 9 to 5. So everything that I do in my 9 to 5 just easily translates into the music side of things. Like running ad campaigns for a scuba diving business, like I do right now, or when I was in the digital agency or working with all sorts of different industries. It all translates to whatever industry. The skills are the same. It's just that the implementation is different. So that's what I've done, and that's how I've, over the past 4 years, slowly been building it up till eventually, obviously, at the start of this year, started working with Curtis King, and here I am now. Really,
Yeah. Hey, it's pretty cool that you've got such a longevity of experience that is really helping you now. And how when you first started, it's just you grinding it out, you geeking out. I find myself like that when I started playing guitar and was into music when I was like 11, but I was playing rugby for Yorkshire at the same time, and I was geeking out about like guitars and just all the best rugby stuff. So I'm totally like you, totally geek out on like everything. You've got to know everything about it, and you know what I mean. Like you just love it, so you're kind of obsessed with it. But how would you say your experience, all the experiences you've had, so then when you eventually met Curtis King, how would you say that's all benefited you to now go with him and be successful and have a lot of influence in the sound design world?
It's quite simple, to be honest. It definitely the experience that I do have in the field has played into my advantage. Like obviously with social media marketing and things like that, so having a social presence, it's all about you hear the word giving value everywhere, but no one hardly really explains what that means. What is giving value? Like everyone's talking about it. Every marketing person under the sun that I've ever that I watched, they all say you've got to give value, but never give somewhat of an explanation as to what that is. What giving value to me really is you may have certain bits of knowledge that are quite unique to you that most other people don't have. Like, so for instance, if you know all about guitars, you may be a whiz at pedals. You may know what pedals you've got to put together to get a certain sort of sound, and that may be your thing. But with me, obviously, my secret sauce skill has always been SEO and PPC management, and obviously that's a very desirable skill to people that are trying to market their own service. SEO is an extremely technical subject. A lot of people don't understand it too well, whereas for me, it's actually my profession. So the kind of how I kind of got hooked up with Curtis, for me, I've always pinpointed it to the fact that I joined the CKTV community when it first launched, and I went in it with the same intentions as everyone else. I wanted to meet people, of course. I wanted to network and things like that. But obviously, when we'd all joined together in like these community sort of classes and things like that, certain subjects would get brought up about marketing because obviously he's a big name. People were picking his head about how to do sort of different things, and from a few odd people here and there, SEO would come up. And then obviously I go ding, 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 light bulb moment. Like this is a moment where I can really, really share what the knowledge that I have. And I just kept on doing that for a period of about a year. And I think really what happened in that sense of I gave so much value to those people about this certain subject that I became somewhat of a noticeable person.
Sort of thing.
A guru sort of thing. And I'd occasionally, for about a period of about 8-9 weeks straight, I actually had one-on-one sort of consultations with most of the members in it, completely free, didn't charge a single thing, speaking to them about their SEO for near on 2 hours a time. Didn't ask anything of anyone, but I was literally just giving that kind of value and unique knowledge that not a lot of, well, as far as I know, no one in the actual community did have. And that was my advantage. And along that way, because I'd already made that sort of imprint, the fact that I've been playing guitar for 16, 17 years had came up as well. And there was like, that's a big thing. And like the fact that I've been doing music so long, and it's just the simple fact of I don't have very many skills, but the skills that I do have, I'm quite advanced in what I have. I'm not good at common knowledge. I don't know anything about taxes or anything like that. If I didn't have my fiance, I'd probably fall flat on my ass, like trying to manage bills and things like that. But the things that I do know about, obviously, synthesis and SEO, and the thing that I have very few skills, but the skills that I do have, I've perfected to quite an extent, because mainly I haven't spent my time really doing anything else since I was 9 years old. And as sad as that may sound, but it's played into my advantage at 28, because I have a career out of it, and it's
really cool.
It's now paying. And
it's really cool. And I remember listening to Curtis King talking once, and he was talking about Slap Expert, and he basically went, yeah, we've got this guy, Aaron Barber, we've got another guy, and then we've got YLM. And then, you know, the first time that I ever heard your name was YLM, SEO expert, SEO whiz, and that's his words. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, this guy must know a lot about it. And then obviously we link up just randomly because I post a beat for the competition, a dopamine flip. Then you commented on my post. So I was like, YLM, I recognize that name from somewhere. Where do I know that from? So, and then I clicked on your profile. I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy from Slap Experts. Cool. Obviously we just got chatting, picking your brains a bit about marketing. I think that's really, really cool, because over the past, how many months, 6 months or so, I've been really focusing on learning the marketing side, because as a music producer, you know, and as a musician, and I've been doing music for a long time. I've been in bands and all sorts, done lots of different stuff. And the marketing side, unless, you know, it's like you and that's your profession. My profession is I'm a wine expert and I'm an events manager. So that's kind of, if we're taking music completely out of the picture, wine and events and hospitality, that's what I do. It's my 9 to 5. That's how I pay most of my bills, sort of thing. And you know, that's what I know. So I part of me wanted to maybe go and do hospitality consultancy, but you know, music's always been my thing. So the marketing side of things is completely new to me. Like, I'd say new in terms of January is when I've really been, you know, reading up on it, studying it, trying new things and stuff like that. So as someone who's new to marketing, SEO and all of that crap, not crap, I shouldn't say that, but all of that stuff, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be a bit like a sponge and just learn as much as I can about it. So linking up with someone like you who just knows a lot about it is just great, just personally for me as well, because it just helps open my eyes up to it a little bit more, so I can be more successful in that, and then in turn produce more income, so I can transition hopefully to making music full time, supporting my family through music. It's a big dream of mine, and I do think my music is good. Obviously it can get better, but I think the key is once I've got the marketing down, I can grow from that, and I can learn, and I can keep going step by step forward. What you know, do you think that's about right, or you know, do you think there's something that I'm missing there, or?
Obviously, you're definitely on the right path, I think, for it, and you're definitely focusing your energy on the necessary things that I think you need to in order to obviously get the dream that you want. But the number one bit of advice that I'd probably say is that if you are so fresh to it, and so fresh, so new, you consider your skills at the minute quite, well, beginner level, don't focus too much on trying to do everything and trying to master one platform. Or for instance, if for instance you you wanted to focus more on SEO, my advice to sort of someone just starting out would be is to pick one medium. So if you are kind of just starting out in delving into that world of marketing, well, I'd say, because I only say it because obviously I see so many people making this mistake, is that they try to do SEO, they try to do Facebook, they try to do YouTube, they try to do Instagram, they try to do all of it because in their heads, their idea is the fact that if they're on all these platforms, they're going to get more exposure. It's not always true. I would, because this is the trial and error. I've done a little bit of this as well, but I would say that you really need to view your marketing more like a funnel concept. So basically, people come in at the top of the funnel, then they make their way sort of through. And obviously, you can bring people into your funnel in multiple variants of different ways. But if it's just you and you're doing this on your own, 110%, you're going to quickly get flattened out. And I would say that if what you want to do is to start a YouTube channel, just focus 10,000%. The top of your funnel is YouTube. And then if someone discovers you through YouTube, obviously they discover your products and so forth, and start to make their way down your sales process and through your funnel. But when you're just starting out, concentrating on, well, trying to do everything at once, it's a quick way to fail, in my personal opinion. And eventually, over time, when, say, for instance, the medium that you've chosen starts to pick up, you can start to implement plans where you can introduce other things and slowly just sort of build on it. So that would be my number one bit of advice for anyone getting into the industry.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, when I first started my own brand as, BATTL Beats, I just solely focused on Instagram and managed to grow that, and it was really good. I think what I'm trying to focus on now is my YouTube channel, because I just love making that style of content, and I think I'm going to really take on board what you're saying and focus on my YouTube channel and try and grow that, because I really love that. But then sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I just need to keep making ads and, just focus my time and energy into making them really good and getting them a good turnover. So I'm trying to just figure out what is the best lane for me to go down and just go all in on. But it's definitely opened my eyes up to so many things, and it's just great what you're saying. I'm trying to take it all in. But just moving aside from all of that, do you want to tell everyone about the podcast that you host yourself?
So at the start of January, obviously I've done lots of different content formats in the past sort of 4 years. Some of them have worked out better, some of them haven't done anything at all, and some I just don't I really don't care about the views or the algorithm sort of side of it. I just do it to vent. Tutorials has worked out for me. I've got tutorials with 60,000-70,000 views on YouTube and things like that. And but I've always been a big lover of podcasts, because obviously I don't only listen to music podcasts, but obviously I listen to podcasts from all sorts of different things, mainly like marketing people and things like that. And for me, it was it's called Beats in My Bedroom. I'm on around, I think, episode 10 right now. I did take a bit of a break from it at the start of January. I usually drop one every week on a Monday, sorry. And and yeah, I'm up to about episode 10. I did take a little bit of a break at the start of the lockdown, mainly due to the fact that I'm working all day. I'm working from home, and my fiance was furloughed, so she wasn't working at all. And obviously she can't go anywhere. So I decided to sort of take a bit of a break for a little while and kind of focus my attentions towards her, because obviously she had no one else as well. She couldn't be social or anything like that. So it was a bit. I thought it was a bit unfair of me to be working all day than working all night, especially in this very unique position that we're in. And the podcast really is just sort of I really just, it's a monologue format, and I really just talk about things that I see and the frustrations that I have. That I don't really consider myself much of a social being, if that makes sense. Like I probably don't see people as much as I should, and I do sometimes. I find it hard to talk about certain things and that, and a lot of the interests that I have, the people around me that I see day in and day out, only a very select few of them have those same interests. So for instance, my fiance, I see her more than anyone else, of course. Obviously, she's not interested in music production. She likes what I do. She's interested in what I do. But obviously, her thing is arts and crafts and that. She's an artist person. So I see the podcast as more just sort of an opportunity to sit back and blurt out all the things that I think about but don't say, and depending on obviously who I'm speaking to, and that's kind of what it just become. And I did feel like for a while, obviously when I first started, even though I'm a marketing sort of consultant and things like that, when you're running your own business, sometimes you don't listen to your own advice sometimes, and like you get stuck in certain places and that, and try all sorts of different things when you know in your professional world the route to sort of take, but sometimes you don't take it. And it took me about 2 years to really listen to my own advice and do the things that I usually do at work, but on my own thing. And I did feel like for a long time that I was chasing views, I was chasing the algorithm, and all taking into account that I'm working full time and I come home and I try to do this content and I'm trying to get views and I'm trying to come up with ideas and things like that. Eventually, the podcast was a result of me not wanting to conform to the algorithm anymore and just sort of make the content I kind of watch myself and kind of just
enjoy making
as well. And like I'm a big fan of people like Tom Billieu and Lisa Billieu and that, and Impact Theory. If no one's seen that, I'd definitely recommend to obviously check it out. I'm a big fan of trying to empower people, trying to teach people and that, and I've felt myself having the conversation with people in the past of trying to knock people into realization and things like that. And obviously all the stuff that I say is not solid, for instance, it's just my opinion in it. And it was me sort of conforming to just what I wanted to do for a change. I felt myself kind of getting a little bit, I don't know, like getting into the headspace of trying to chase views and that, and I didn't like it anymore. And and the way my brand was growing was not because of YouTube, it was because I rank highly on Google, which, for instance, is my specialist skill. All my email subscribers that I have, I've got just over 17,500 now. I've had a lot more of that in the past, but that didn't grow to the size that it is because I'm known on YouTube, for instance. For instance, I have a lot more engagement on on Instagram as it is. So the podcast was kind of it was it was an idea for me to kind of do more long form sort of content and do sort of less content in a period. So make it long form, but be able to do sort of less and be able to sort of schedule what I do in and day out and try and fit it around having a life, making beats and things like that, but wanting to do the content as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of saw the podcast in a sense of I could sit down and I could talk for 20 minutes or something like that. I think the longest episode that I actually have is 15, so it's not a long podcast at all.
It's not like Curtis King who sits and chats to himself for 40 minutes.
No, like it's definitely not. And like, to be honest, there's no, I'm not consciously making it 15 minutes. If I did sit there and ramble for 30 minutes to 40 minutes, I'd still put it out. But I think after.
Sorry, I think when you are just in the flow, when you are just chatting, sometimes YouTube videos that are 40 minutes aren't always something that someone's just going to put on and listen to. You know, I reckon more and more people are going to listen to something that's actually just less. So having a bite-sized 15-minute podcast is actually a pretty good idea, even though you're not doing a time restriction, because unless someone's actually physically going to spend the time listening to it, a 15-minute YouTube video isn't that long, and people may be more likely to watch it because it isn't like a super long thing.
The thing that I love about the podcasting, for instance, is the fact that I can make long form content, and what I love about podcasts is that they're 9 times out of 10 unscripted. They allow for mistakes. So, for instance, if I misspeak my words, or for instance, or like I mumble for a bit or something like that, that's a problem of mine. I seem to mumble quite a bit. But I liked the format of podcasting because it allows for that. So in trying to fit everything around my sort of life, for instance, I wanted to think of a way that I could do content but have less time to edit as well. So and podcasting kind of allowed for that. So it was kind of I'd sit, I'd speak. Sometimes I'd edit little bits, but I've had videos in the past where I just sort of talk to the camera, but I tried to make it so perfect in terms of the way the conversation sort of flows. If I say the wrong thing, I'll edit that out, and then I'll piece 2 bits of a sentence together to make a full sentence. And it was just a lot. It's like why am I trying to do all this fancy sort of editing, as well as make beats, as well as spend time with my other half and do all this sort of stuff, and I'm spending all this time editing videos and that. Why don't I just speak normally, act like I normally act? So eventually, I landed on podcasting because not only that, I can make long form content, and then I can also edit it down to little minute snippets, and and then from there it's Instagram content as well. Which seems to work a bit better for me as well. So it's a case of trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone as well, trying to do YouTube, but then also on the same in the same aspect do Instagram as well, but do it from one piece of content.
Yeah, definitely.
Gary V style.
Yeah. He always goes on about that as well, and I think that's really good. You know, maxing out your content from one piece of content. You know, you can make various different things with that. But I think just to bring it slowly to an end, because I try and make them anywhere between half an hour and 45 minutes. What would if you were to start all over again, and you were 15 again or whatever, or 21 22 fresh out of uni? What would the advice be to your young self who's just raring and ready to go with music and really own it and go with it? What would you say is your main bit of advice? Because this probably applies to a lot of younger artist producers listening as well.
Yeah. The one bit of advice I wish I had is because I felt like I did a lot of it when I was younger. Is I tried the scattergun technique. I tried to do all sorts of different things at one time. So my advice would be to focus in on what it is you actually want to achieve, know what it is that you want to do, and set an actual plan in place to achieve it. So if you're a music producer, but you want to sell sound packs like me, use those younger years to learn the skills that you need to make a success out of it, like SEO, like social media or something like that, and use those younger years to be bad at it, to be really, really bad at it, because those younger years are the years that you've got the training wheels on, and you can make a lot of those mistakes early, and and by the time you look up, if you try it for 2 years and it doesn't work out, let's say you started at 18, you look up 2 years later, you're 20. Like, you're only 20. Like, you've got God knows how long left. So use those younger years to basically to experiment, but to figure out what it is you want to do, set a plan, and stay on it. So use those years to basically learn the skills that you need, but understand what it is that you want to achieve at a younger age, and just stick to it. And don't expect to be making money too quickly, because I think too many people start on this journey of music production and view it as a business straight away. Whereas I didn't start a business in this until 4 years ago. And I'd already been doing it for like 12 or something years. I started music production because I actually love music production and I love making beats. I didn't, I see that way too much. People start making beats and it's purely a financial sort of thing. And I that's upsetting, I think. And I wouldn't take that approach. So it's love what you do, but be realistic about what you want to achieve and actually set goals to achieve it, and then slowly just tick those goals off as you get older and start to achieve more things.
Definitely. I think there's so much pressure for people to move away from the 9 to 5 to do music full time. It'd be a great thing to do, but you know, it takes years to make something out of it. You know, you're doing well, but you've still got a 9 to 5. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's no rush. You know, I'm 26, you're 28. There's a lot of young guys doing it who just think, I want to do music, blah blah. It's like, maybe just get yourself a part-time job just to pay off some bills.
The number one thing that I think I've done, that I think a lot of people, I would advise a lot of other people to do, is that I'm very much in a career job. I'm not just in a job. I'm in a career. And the great thing that there is about careers is obviously sometimes they pay pretty well. And I'm not gonna not say it is that I'm on quite a reasonable wage for what I do. I live very comfortably. I'm not rich. I'm not poor. I own my house, for instance. I owned my house when I was 23. But it's choose a career that you can progress in, and keep what you spend down to a minimum. So obviously pay your bills, but don't go out buying Armani bloody sweatsuits or whatever. And Primark is fine. You know, I mean, you can get 50 shirts for the price of one that you can at bloody Gucci or whatever. And
looks the same.
It looks the same. And use that career that you're hopefully over a period of time getting pay rises in, dump that into a savings account, and eventually invest into what it is that you actually want to do. And I'd say that is the smartest thing for people to do.
Yeah, definitely. That's what me and the missus are doing right now. We're saving so much money because we're really close to buying a house, and we've got ideas of what we want to do with the house, and we're going to try and start an Airbnb business on the side just to try and pay off the mortgage. We're always thinking of, business things, and she's got a very good career. My career is good. Music's something that I do on the side, but having my job frees me up to do my music because I don't have to stress about, am I going to pay rent? Am I going to pay bills? You know, we can go out for nice meals when we want. We can, you know, buy nice things if we want. We don't at the moment. We're living a bit frugal so we can save money. And it's been a real lesson for us to, you know, I work in hospitality. I like nice wines. You know, we'll go to a nice restaurant, spend, you know, a nice amount of money on a bottle of wine because we enjoy it. Not that I'm a snob, but that's just something we're into. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we have, just like you, that the benefit to do that, but we decide to cut the spending and then focus it on what we need to. So saving for a house or investing in music stuff, or you know what I mean. And I think it's a lot of young people just think, yeah, I'll just get a little job that's gonna, you know, 10 hours a week, you know, serving McDonald's, whatever, and it's going to give me this. I'll just be able to make rent, or you know, I'll be able to just pay my board. And it's like, well, why don't you just get a better job, get a bit more money, and then just grind out in the night time and make something happen? Because then you're comfortable. You don't have that added stress. It's much better to live off 5 hours sleep than it is, you know, more sleep, but you feeling like you've actually made something of it because you've been up doing what you love, or you've been on the weekend on your day off, you've been making music what you love, so you get that fulfillment instead of just having all of that free time to be able to do something. And it would probably grow better if you had less time to focus on it, but that time you focused on it was kind of just all in flow state kind of stuff. So I think a lot of people need to get a job and need to just think, you know what, music's a long-term thing, not going to blow up overnight. And maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's 2020. No one blows up overnight unless they've been grinding for a long time.
This is the thing, is that one of the main things that I do is, obviously, I get paid a healthy wage. I live off of a certain percentage of it. But a fair chunk of it goes on advertising and running ads. And that's the reason why I've kind of started to step my game up a little bit in it. My brand awareness is slowly coming up. And it's because I do invest in things like ads, but that's an entirely different sort of subject. Mm-hmm. Learning paid advertising is completely different to learning SEO. Obviously, as again, my advantage there is the fact that I do it as a profession. So it's take your time with it, but and just enjoy it while you're doing it. And this is the thing, too much pressure, it's not good to put too much pressure on yourself to achieve a certain thing while you're expecting 500 quid out of a paid advertising campaign and you're expecting to get some money back, and you've only been running ads a week. It's more of a complicated subject than people think. Boosting your Facebook posts isn't the same as running an advertisement. They are two completely different sort of things. Boosting posts and running an actual Facebook ad is completely different. That's my one bit of advice for musicians. Do not boost your posts. Run ads, and Google what that is, and you'll understand that the boosting post is completely different to actually running a fully fledged ad that you have control over.
Definitely. But hey, man, it's been great chatting to you. I feel like you've dropped a lot of gems for everyone, including myself, to take on board. Where can we check you out? What are your websites and social medias? I'll link it all in the description. But where can we check you out?
Well, for obviously all of my sample packs and things like that, I've got a new sample pack coming out in the next 2 weeks called the Panda Kit. That's a drum kit made out of the sounds from my car. And you will find that on yourlocalmusician.com. Instagram, it's YLM Beats. The YouTubes and things like that, it's just Your Local Musician. Facebook, Your Local Musician. Twitter, YLM Beats, and that's it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a great episode, and I can't wait to upload it. So thanks for coming down.
No worries.
Thank you for listening to the Beats and Bars podcast. I'm your host, BATTL Beats. See you next week.
It's battle, baby.